In August 1987, on a terrace in Ibiza, a journalist asked Freddie Mercury how the AIDS crisis had affected him. Mercury answered honestly. He said it had frightened him to death. He said he had stopped having sex entirely. He did not say the other thing. 4 months earlier, he had been told he was going to die. He would carry that for another 4 years and tell the world about it one day before it happened. He was born Farrokh Bulsara on the 5th of September 1946 in a government hospital on the island of Zanzibar. His parents were Parsi Zoroastrians. His father worked as a cashier for the British Colonial High Court. The family lived in a flat overlooking the sea in Stone Town with staff and a nanny named Sabine. At 8, he was sent nearly 3,000 miles away to a Church of England boarding school in the hills above Bombay. He would spend most of his childhood there. In January 1964, revolution came to Zanzibar. Thousands of ethnic Arabs and Indians were killed. The Bulsaras left with what they could carry and arrived in Feltham, a suburb of West London under the Heathrow flight path. 15 years later, at the height of his fame, an interviewer asked where his family were now. He said, "Middlesex. They live in Feltham." That is very nearly everything he ever said in public about where he came from. Across 8 recorded conversations, over 8 years, with the one journalist he trusted, conversations in which he discussed sex, betrayal, loneliness, and his own death, Zanzibar does not come up once. It would be easy to call that concealment, but no interviewer ever asked. The British music press of the 1970s had no vocabulary for a Parsi boy from an island most of them could not place, and he never volunteered one. What he did instead was build something to stand in front of it. He studied graphic art at Ealing College. He sang in bands that went nowhere. Ibex in a Bolton club in 1969. Sour Milk Sea, found through a small ad in Melody Maker. In June 1970, a new band played a Red Cross benefit at the City Hall in Truro. He had named it Queen. Somewhere around then, he stopped being Farrokh Bulsara on paper as well as on stage. What followed is the part everybody knows. The band, the records, the voice, and on top of it, a performing self of such size that it became the only thing most people ever saw. He was precise about what that self was. In 1984, he called it, in his own words, the monster. He said he had built himself up for one side and then had to find someone who would accept it. 2 sides of a coin, he said. 3 years later, he was blunter. There was no way, he said, that he was real on stage. He had worn costumes. He had put himself into different characters. Underneath all that, he said, there is a real me. People had read far too much into it, he thought. Actors portray somebody. They do not become those people. They go back and do something else. The trouble was that he had become very good at not going back. He described living inside his own press, thinking he had to be the captain of the ship at every gathering, performing for everybody, even off stage. On the 13th of July 1985, at Wembley, he did the thing he was built for in front of the largest audience in the history of television. A week beforehand, he had noticed something in the program. The lyrics were printed. The first line of the song he was to open with was, "Just look at all those hungry mouths we have to feed." That, he said, is what's magical. I think that's going to bring tears to my eyes. He was 38, and he had been describing the shape of his private life for years to anyone who asked properly. In 1984, he said he was living totally alone. He listed the household, a cleaning lady who came in, and Mary who came and looked after him. It sounds so poverty-stricken, doesn't it, he said, but I love the space. He said you could be loved by so many thousands of people and still be lonely, and that this made it worse rather than better. He said he found it very hard to open up because he did not trust people. He said he felt he was walking around with scars all over the place and could not take another one. Asked in 1986 whether he still hoped for one person, he said he had tried and failed and did not think he was going to get it. He thought he had to come to terms with that. Pressed harder in the same conversation, in his own garden, he changed the subject. He said he was quite happy coming home and tickling his peonies. It was July. They were in flower. In April 1987, he was diagnosed with HIV. He told the band and his manager and required their silence. Brian May said later, "We hid everything. I guess we lied, because we were trying to protect him." That summer, on the terrace in Ibiza, he answered the question about AIDS with genuine fear and no disclosure. In the same conversation, he said he was petrified of being alone. He said he would take any risk in music and none at all in his private life. And when the journalist asked whether he feared ending up a lonely, rich old man at 70, he said no. He said he would be dead long before that. He was 41. He gave the world 4 more years and almost nothing else. When a tabloid photographed him leaving a doctor's, he said nothing. He kept working. He kept recording while he could still stand. On the 23rd of November 1991, he released a statement confirming he had AIDS. He said he had kept it private to protect the privacy of those around him, and then, in the last public words of his life, he closed the door again. "My privacy," he said, "has always been very special to me, and I am famous for my lack of interviews. Please understand this policy will continue." He died the following day, at home in Kensington, aged 45. 4 days later, fewer than 40 people watched him cremated under Zoroastrian rite in a crematorium in Kensal Green to a liturgy in Avestan, a language 3,000 years old, belonging to the island childhood he had spent 20 years never mentioning. In 1987, he had said he was not giving any of his things away when he died. He said he would hoard. He said he wanted to be buried with all his stuff. In 2023, Mary Austin sold 1,500 of his possessions at Sotheby's. 140,000 people came to look at them. He told us, repeatedly and on tape, that the man on the stage was not the man. Nobody was listening, because the man on the stage was so much easier to love. So, who is Freddie Mercury?